I asked for physical extraterrestrial contact and something answered. This was in 2016. I was in Northern California attending 2 ET contact retreats in Mount Shasta. In between weekends, my friend Megan and a Canadian pilot, Dave, we went to go camp in Lawson Volcanic National Park. The first night that we arrived there, we did a little sky gazing and we had some phenomenal experiences. The one that I remember that stood out was we saw 13 flashbulbs flash across the sky, and the object, this UFO, at the 13th flash split into 3 objects, 2 following along the same trajectory and 1 went down into the horizon, perpendicular to the horizon. And we called it a night. We were like, wow, that's some fantastic sighting that we just had. Now I should mention my friend Megan and I had been talking about manifesting some kind of physical extraterrestrial contact. We both had a lot of experiences. She was very associated with Stephen Greer's CE5 organization, and she had seen tons of physical things, but she had never had her own personal physical kind of contact experience. And for me, I'd had a lot of interdimensional contact, but I had never had a physical experience. So this is something that we were both calling in. And we went to bed, all of us in our respective tents, and around 3:34 in the morning, I woke up. Now, this wasn't unusual for me because I often, as a yogi, I wake up very early in the morning to meditate. And I don't do it ritualistically anymore. I just do it when I feel called. And this was like that. I just woke up and I was like, okay, I'm just going to do some meditation right now. It's a very powerful hour. And right when I got up, I sit in lotus position. That's the way I do my meditation. And I hear a telepathic voice in my head. And it says, come outside. And I hear footsteps behind my tent. Now, where me, Megan, and Dave were camped, we were off in our own section. There was no one really around us. So I'm hearing these footsteps and I get this message in my head. And I say to the voice, and I basically say, can I have a few minutes? Because I was having visceral reactions to having heard this. It was very unnerving for me. And I very much knew that this could possibly be what I had been calling in. Anyway, so I go into a meditation. Yes, it took a lot of focus, but then I dropped into a very, very powerful meditation. And the silence was deafening. It was amazing. And I came out of the meditation, and the moment I opened my eyes, the voice comes back and says, are you ready? Come outside. It was quite a terse voice, to be honest. And I said to the voice, I said, look, I don't think I can handle if I see a little gray alien. If you can assure me I'm going to see something neutral like an orb or something like that, sure, I can come outside. All of a sudden, radio silence, and I hear footsteps, and that's it. Okay, now I proceed to fall asleep. Generally, if I get in a very heightened meditative state like this, it's a very high frequency, it's super gamma for me, and I'm going to project out of my body. I'm going to have an out-of-body experience. And for some reason, I didn't even think of it. I just went to sleep without grounding myself, without doing any kind of grounding exercises and things like that. So my frequency was just palpable. I fall asleep and immediately I float out of my body. I drift out of the tent and there's a huge metallic paneled craft. It's giant. I mean, it's completely superimposed over Megan and Dave's tent. It's just like hovering there. And I float into this craft. It was paneled kind of like the Millennial Falcon from Star Wars, but it was completely perfectly round and it was very big. Okay, this wasn't like a small Bellcraft kind of thing. And it wasn't smooth like a Bellcraft either. Like I said, there were a lot of panels and things. I float inside and it's completely transparent. I can see through the craft, which is pretty typical in an OBE state. You have these kinds of abilities. And I'm expecting that this craft is going to pop off into outer space or something, right? Beam me up, Scotty. Instead, it just drops into the ground, into the earth, okay? And we're in Lawson, so it's all of a sudden we're just going through strata. I'm seeing strata as we pass down, and the next thing I know, we are over a huge city that is very futuristic. There's skyscrapers and things like that. It might be kind of like a Singapore kind of vibe. It's very different from like the US cities that we have. We have pretty old, like older infrastructure here. But it was like big, very nice color palette. You know, it wasn't like all mismatched of like these rounded skyscrapers and things like that. And in between the city, there's the biggest esplanade kind of thing I've ever seen. It's like this huge white marble divider, like instead of a river or something, just dividing these two parts of the city. And in the center is this pristine giant fountain, like the size of a football field. It's a square fountain. We fly over it in this craft, and I am not aware of any other entities on the craft. I'm just kind of like very absorbed in this display. Now, I'm in an OBE right now. I'm in an out of body experience. My consciousness is expanded and I'm lucid. So I'm experiencing this all as real as me making this video right now. And the craft passes over the fountain, and there is one building that's really standing out, one structure. It looks ancient or very historic. It reminds me of Gaudi's Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. And this cathedral thing, we go over it, we're hovering, and I just drift out of it, and I enter into like a tower at the top. Maybe it's called a minaret or something like that. And I enter into this little room. It's like a teak room, you know, dark reddish brown wood, and lots of stained glass windows. It's a very small room though, and it's totally circular. And there's a figure standing next to me, and he's hooded, almost like an Obi-Wan, but he's got a pretty big noggin, although he feels very tall to me. Like, he doesn't feel humanly tall. He feels like maybe like 7 foot or something like that, although we do have humans who are like 7 feet. And I can't really make out his features. I'm standing next to him. I can just see his profile, and again, he's like hooded, and in front of us is a giant grimoire. Like, yeah, like a big looking magical book. And on the front of the book is the caduceus. In yogic systems, there's the nadis. These are like the energy systems that run up the back of the spine or run through our central channel. We have our central channel, and then we have our Ida and our Pingala. And these are curving. And this is before I really was familiar with this language. So I see this on the front of the book, and then I see these crystal like gems that I'm pretty sure in retrospect were like representing chakras, maybe on our energy system. And this being opens the book. I don't remember if they opened the book or if it just flew open to a page, but the book is like now like halfway through, and the being takes out a long spindly finger and points to something on the page, and I look into the book and I lose my consciousness. So I wake up, okay, now I'm out of this experience. I go back into unconsciousness while I'm sleeping, and I wake up maybe 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Dave and Megan are already up, they're having coffee, and I first asked them about their experience. Now, I don't know if anything happened with Dave. I don't recall anything with Dave, but with Megan, she said, yeah, I woke up around 3:34 in the morning and I needed to use the restroom, but I was so spooked. She goes, I don't even know how to explain it. She's like, you know, the hair was standing up on the back of my neck, and I just was like, forget it. And so then I shared my experience, which was really fascinating. And then we attend the next retreat in Mount Shasta. We head back to Mount Shasta, and of course we're sharing some of our experiences, and this happened to be a CE5 retreat. And they mentioned that they had recorded experiences with other people who had seen this 13 flashes and then some kind of contact experience. And they actually confirmed they had also heard things like invisible footsteps. So it was a really fascinating experience for me. And going forward, I do plan on having, it's been like 10 years, but I do plan on having a transpersonal hypnotherapy session to maybe uncover, you know, part 2, what was in that book. But I have a feeling that a lot of the things that I saw in that experience, I have since learned in my waking life. Like I said, I wasn't even familiar with these kinds of terms and just the context for healing and how we actualize and create in this world. So that was my very, very wild extraterrestrial contact experience. I've certainly had other ones, but this one really stood out because I asked for something big, and I definitely had the opportunity to have some kind of contact with some kind of group or beings, but my nervous system could not handle it. My body was reacting very, very violently to the idea of meeting any kind of being. And instead, I had an interdimensional experience, which I felt very comfortable with. So that's the way spirit works. They really honor us where we're at. Of course, they're going to give us the opportunities, but if we don't want to take it, it is our choice, and that is very much respected, and a different way will be found for us to reach that kind of fulfillment, whatever we're asking for. That's our message for today. If you enjoyed this video, please share your beautiful energy, like, subscribe, share, and comment. If you're interested in coaching, Akashic record readings, or visionary art, please check in the description box. Thank you for joining us on Vibrational Sciences, where we're exploring metaphysics, manifesting, mysticism, and exploring the nature of reality. See you in the next message.